Well, I mean, I think it's great. I know some guys, the O'Bannon brothers, and those guys have been fighting this for a long time. So it's good to see this come to fruition. I wish it went back further than 2016 or so for some of us old guys like myself. But I'm happy for them to at least reconcile with some of the guys. And you know, you think about it. There's been some big players that have come through college football and basketball since 2016 that could have made a ton of money off of their name, image, and likeness. So I think this is a way that the NCAA is really admitting that, hey, we shouldn't have took this hard line stance, and now we want to make some, give some people some opportunity from what we did not provide for them in the past. But I think in the future it opens it up. I think now the NCAA is understanding they have to play in this space now of paying players. So I think this is a way to really start that conversation.
Well, and I specifically think about some of those guys who were punished for situations where they made some money or just got crab legs infamously, like things like that. Just the interesting, reverse on some of that sort of stuff now. And this just kind of, we've already seen it with NIL, but now we're kind of taking that next step in it.
Yeah, you think about some of the programs that have been punished during that time as well. Some of their wins taken back and those things. But, I think the way that they're doing it, they're trying to tier it as far as what guys they think were 5 stars, 4 stars, what the guys' value were during the time that they were playing. So I think they're trying to address some of those special situations. But I would have liked to see it been longer. But I think the most important part that we have to remember, I think going forward, is they are admitting that, hey, we got to play in the space and help these guys out. But I think universities will welcome this because it's more money to kind of help them do what they need to do.
Well, I think one of the interesting things, too, it's really easy to think of some of your favorite football players, your favorite basketball players, guys that have gone on to have really illustrious professional careers. But what I think has been interesting about the NIL space is that women have actually been some of the biggest money makers off of NIL. When you talk about women's basketball, you talk about some of these gymnasts, just the women have really been able to capitalize on it, and they're a space that the NCAA never thought of or considered for this sort of thing either until recently.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's been fun to watch that. I would admit that I have got into women's sports much more in these past couple of years, specifically women's basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been tremendous and fun to watch, and so those young ladies deserve it, rightfully so. And I think this is a space we're in now. They're the man, understanding what their brand is, understanding what they're worth, and people are acknowledging that. And it translates into the sports. And I think it helps everybody, which I think we don't talk about that enough. We look at the guys or the girls that make all the money, but it trickles down and it affects everybody.
When you have mentioned a couple of times moving forward, where do you see this going forward? What's kind of maybe, where do you realistically see it going short term, and where do you think ideally it needs to go?
Yeah, I think the short term effect really is for the NCAA support those Power Five, which I think those are going to be the biggest recipients of this in those money making sports. And that process of supporting them financially to kind of fill in some of those gaps, right? I think that's where you're going to see.
So like it can be even? So we don't end up with, because that's what we're seeing right now in NIL with some of these collectives and with some of this space and the difference in legislation from state to state.
Right.
We're seeing some odd skewing that's happening. So are you saying NCAA has to be involved so it can be controlled?
Well, I don't think it will be controlled or make it even, but I think their process and their portion of this will be even. And I think that's where they can fit. And I think that's the right space for them to fit in is, okay, we have to share this revenue evenly throughout the board. Hey, what else you raise on top of that, what other value you have as a university, that's you. But here's our portion, here's our understanding of the space. And so I think long term, you will see us start to conference to have an issue with it. And when I say an issue, meaning that supporting the different conferences and what they demand, right? Because SEC is going to feel
ACC.
like SEC is going to feel like they're leading college sports.
Right.
So they're going to feel like we should have more.
Right.
I think ACC and your Big Ten, all these other conferences you're going to look at is how do we support those. And I think the NCAA has to take that hard line to say, hey, we're going to support this evenly.
Well, a portion of this is money from TV deals and things like that, and places they were able to make money off of the student athletes. I just can't help but anytime I see money made off of TV deals, think, oh gosh, the ACC.
Right, right.
I just feel like this is just kind of another, feather in the cap for the lawsuits for Clemson, Florida State. That I just think this is another place you continue to see where things are different. Not only do they have the worst setup for a baseball conference tournament, but they also, the pool play kills. I'm sorry, I'll get off the high horse there. But I think that I'm interested to see how that also continues to play an effect in it.
And I think it lands on, hey, we understand that SEC, your brand and your value is bigger than the ACC, but here's what we have to do as a governing body.
Yeah.
We got to be somewhat even in how we support you guys. So I think that's a good space for them, and I think at the end of it all, coaches will be thankful for that.